As already stated, I have outlines for all the episodes of the final season, and I will share them in the following days. As you can tell by the title itself, in this video I'm bringing you the leaked outline of Season 8 Episode 2. If you haven't seen my previous video in which I broke down season premiere, I highly suggest you to do so, because almost everything in there seems to be confirmed by the leaked photos, and then come back and watch this video. Before I start, let me warn you once again that this leaked outline does seem to be legit, so if you don't want anything spoiled, it's time for you to close this video. Now that you've been warned, let's take a look on this outline. The outline states that the episode starts at Winterfell. Jon and Dany finally arrive. They're being greeted by the Stark children first. Jon reunites with all his siblings and friends. Sam tells Jon that they need to speak in private, on which Jon nods. The dragons fly above Winterfell. Let me stop here for a moment. The Season 8 premiere saw Jon and Dany arrive at White Harbor in the beginning of the episode with the Unsullied, and we're seen approaching Winterfell in its end with the Dothraki as well. Even though I expected Jon and Dany to arrive straight at Winterfell in the first couple of scenes of Season 8, it seems like they will not until the second episode. One can only hope that they didn't arrive too late to prepare defenses and to equip all the soldiers with the dragonglass weapons. Let me remind you that the seat of House Umber has already fallen with the Umbers in the season premiere. Sansa, upon being told by Bran that the wall has fallen, did send ravens to the northern houses, whose seats are the furthest northern settlements, and even though she did manage to save the Karstarks, who fled Karhol just before the army of the dead reached it, she did not manage to save the Umbers. Their castle, the Last Heart, is the furthest northern castle in the north, and by the time the Raven brought the news, it was too late. It seems that Jon might finally reunite with his siblings and friends, and even though I'm excited to see Jon-Arya reunion, I'm more eager to see how the Stark children will react to Daenerys Targaryen. The outline also continues with, this episode sees many other reunions as well. Arya and Sansa reunite with the Hound. Arya also reunites with Gendry. Jorah and Sam share a hug, Tyrion and Sansa share a scene. At some point of the episode, Jon also reunites with Ghost. With all the main characters being at Winterfell, it only makes sense for some of them to finally reunite and share a couple of words. It says Arya and Sansa reunite with Sandor Clegane, who's basically been their only true friend south of Winterfell. The Hound helped Sansa a lot back when both of them were in King's Landing, and even offered to escort her back to safety, which Sansa unfortunately refused. He also helped her sister Arya trying to escort her back to her family, but unfortunately the Red Wedding occurred. Arya learned a great deal from the Hound, and some even claim that she sometimes acts like him. It says that Arya also reunites with Gendry, a scene which fans hope might give us a clue about the upcoming wedding, but that's a theory for another time. The two shared a lot of time together in previous seasons and both grew to like and deeply care for each other. It's safe to say they'll be happy to see each other alive and well. Jorah and Sam will reunite as well. Sam saved Jorah's life in the previous season, but Jorah's queen burned Sam's father and brother alive. Even though Jorah took no part in it, and even though Sam was not in good terms with his family, it's still going to be interesting to see how will Sam react to such news. Perhaps one of the reunions that most fans will love to finally see is the one between Sansa and Tyrion. Once a married couple, the two will surely be happy to see each other after a long time. Tyrion was the only Lannister that cared for the Stark daughter and actually tried to make her time at King's Landing a bit better. He protected her from King Joffrey numerous times, leading Sansa to trust Tyrion. They have both been through some rough times since then, and one or two scenes between those two would be great to see. If I'd have to guess, I'd say that Tyrion will ask Sansa how she escaped King's Landing and how they managed to see through Littlefinger's game. The outline also says that Jon will reunite with Ghost as well, and one can only say, finally. We all enjoy the dragons, but the direwolves have also been a huge part of the Game of Thrones, especially of the Stark children. We haven't seen Ghost ever since Jon's been resurrected. For all you wondering where Ghost even is, he's at Winterfell. The showrunners confirmed that Ghost remained at Winterfell with Sansa when Jon left to meet Dany on Dragonstone. As a matter of fact, Ghost was supposed to be in one scene of the previous season. When discussing his episode Stormborn on a Season 7 Blu-ray commentary track, writer Cogman revealed that he wrote a scene featuring Ghost, but it got cut. We were supposed to see Ghost when Jon emerged from Winterfell crypts, right after he threatened Littlefinger but before he waved goodbye to Sansa. So somewhere in there, Ghost was supposed to finally reappear. Cogman provided some more details. There was a bit here where Jon came out of the crypts, and Ghost came up to him and he petted him and said, "Take care of Sansa, watch over her for me." But I guess those direwolves are expensive. I guess it got cut. Instead of Ghost, the showrunners decided to fulfill their long-awaited wish of having an undead bear in Game of Thrones. We were supposed to have more Ghost scenes in Season 6 as well, but they eventually decided to rather have more giant scenes. Director of the Battle of the Bastards revealed that it was a budgetary concern. He said, "Ghost was in there in spades originally, but it's also an incredibly time-consuming and expensive character to bring to life." He continued with, "Ultimately we had to choose between Von and the direwolf, so the dog bit the dust." Anyways, the Game of Thrones production had much higher budget for Season 8, and with that said, it only makes sense for Ghost to finally reappear. The outline says Jon will reunite with Ghost in Episode 2, and I'm sure we'll see more of him in the following episodes, especially in the battle for Winterfell that is taking place in Episode 3. Back to the outline. It says that after initial greetings, Jon has been told about both the fall of the wall and fall of the Last Heart. Jon commands everyone to gather in the Great Hall of Winterfell to discuss how will they defend the North against the Night King and his army. The Northern Lords are not pleased to accept Daenerys as their queen. Daenerys doesn't say a word. Jon states that Dany came to the North Side with all her armies and dragons. Without her, the war would be lost. During the meeting, Sansa says that Cersei cannot be trusted, on which Tyrion assures them that they can. Jon orders Winterfell defenses to be made out of dragonglass. Jon also says that every man and woman must carry a dragonglass weapon as well. There's not much to say about this part. Jon and Dany are having a meeting with Northern Lords regarding how they plan to stand against the Army of the Dead. It's not surprising that most of the lords are not eager to accept Dany as their queen, but I'm sure Jon's speech will change their mind. Jon will likely also reveal to them that Dany has already sacrificed one dragon in order to help the North, which should make them a bit less angry about Jon kneeling to the Dragon Queen. Jon ordering Winterfell defenses to be made out of dragonglass and everyone carrying a dragonglass weapon has been expected, but it's also been confirmed by leaked photos, about which I'm going to talk a bit later in this video. Sansa spent quite a lot of time with Cersei, and it seems that she might see through Cersei's game, doubting her intentions and saying that Cersei cannot be trusted. The outline then states that sometime later in the episode, Jon and Dany are in the crypts. Jon has learned about his true lineage, Dany doesn't know yet. They discuss Ned's death. The scene ends with a horn being blown. Let me stop right here to say that this part is both surprising and expected. We've known that Jon must find the truth in the beginning of the season, even though this rough outline doesn't provide us an answer regarding who will be the one to reveal it to him. In the very beginning of the episode, Sam did tell Jon that they need to speak in private, so Sam might be the one to reveal him this game-changing information. Anyways, this scene in the crypts between Jon and Dany might even be confirmed by the leaks. Months after I had received this outline, it was revealed that episode 2 will see the return of the crypts, which was being filmed on its long-standing location at Shane's castle. It's also been reported that two main characters will discuss Ned Stark's death in this particular scene. Even the scene's ending with a horn being blown has been confirmed by the leaks. The outline then states that the next scene takes place in the Red Keep, the aftermath of Cersei's miscarriage. Cersei has gone completely mad after what's happened to her in the last episode. She becomes more ruthless and more paranoid. Qyburn enters her chambers, but Cersei doesn't want to speak of her miscarriage. She says that she doesn't want to hear it and instead asks how are the plans going. Qyburn nods and tells Cersei that everything goes well and that they should reach White Harbor any day now. The scene then switches to Euron Greyjoy and his Iron Fleet. He's sailing with the Golden Company towards the north. In the season premiere's ending, we saw Cersei having a miscarriage. It says that Cersei doesn't want to speak of the another child she just lost. We've already seen this approach in the previous season when she did not want to speak about Tommen with Jaime. The outline says that Cersei goes full mad, and honestly it's been expected. This child was her only remaining hope regarding the future of her and her house. With it being lost, I can see Cersei now becoming the Mad Queen, with only one desire: to destroy all her enemies no matter the cost. The surprising part of this is Euron Greyjoy and his Iron Fleet. It seems that he's sailing with the Golden Company towards the north. Perhaps episode 3 will not see Jon and Dany fighting the Night King only. Perhaps they'll have to fight Euron and the Golden Company as well. After all, Euron promised Cersei to destroy the Pretenders in the north.
With the Iron Fleet, you own the seas. You can defeat the invaders in the east and the Pretenders in the north and south.
Then we are back at Winterfell again. The outline says that we see a bird's eye shot of the Unsullied with the dragonglass-tipped spears within the walls of Winterfell. We also see the Dothraki outside. The Dothraki huts are being built outside the Winterfell walls. Let me stop right there to say that this part has already been confirmed by the leaked photos. There are photos that are showing 3 Dothraki huts, 2 smaller and 1 larger hut, all at the Titanic Studios in Belfast, which is where the Game of Thrones production mainly films. This is a Dothraki hut, the kind we last saw back in season 6, when Dany was taken to the Ways Dothrak to live out her life in endless widowhood. The third larger hut is suggested by many sources to be a hut where Dany will stay. Let me remind you once again that, as I already said, and as you can see by yourself, I received this outline back in August of the last year. That's a couple of months before Game of Thrones started filming its final season, a couple of months before any leaked photo was taken, and yet this outline seems to be perfectly matching with all the leaks that followed. Anyways, Dany is coming to the North Side with her full strength. Even though it does seem like there might be some extra space for the Unsullied inside the Winterfell walls, it certainly cannot take tens of thousands of Dothraki, and therefore them building huts outside Winterfell is not coming as a huge surprise. Back to the outline, we're still at Winterfell. Ellis Karstark finally reaches Winterfell. Bran Stark warns Jon that the Army of the Dead is very close. Jaime and Bronn arrive at Riverrun. The episode ends with the Army of the Dead approaching Winterfell, the horn is being blown. In the season premiere, Karstarks barely managed to flee Carhold just before the undead reaches it. With the Karstarks' arrival at Winterfell, there also comes the Army of the Dead. There you have it, guys, season 8 episode 2 leaked outline that was sent to me in August of last year, months before Game of Thrones began filming its final season, months before any leaked photos were taken, and yet it seems to be supported by all the leaks that eventually appeared. As I already stated, I received outline for every single episode of the final season, and that's what I'll be covering in the following days. Some of you might think that this season seems to be a bit slow-paced, especially since it's the last season. However, keep in mind that this is only a rough outline. There are going to be way more scenes. These are basically the episode's highlights. For example, there has not been yet a mention of the Granger or Melisandre, but I can guarantee you that we'll see both of them in either season premiere or in this very episode. It's just that their scenes are not the episode's highlights. Anyways, this episode still seems to be quite exciting, with Jon and Dany finally arriving at Winterfell. We'll see many reunions. Jon will finally learn the truth and he will finally reunite with Ghost. Cersei on the other hand has gone fully mad and Euron is sailing north.